Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum. Straight talk about you and your money. Now from the BizTalk studios, here is Gary Kaltbaum.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Adam Sarhan, in for Gary K, who's out today. Today is Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, and we've got a great show for you tonight. First off, I want to thank you very much for being here. All right, before we dive into the show, we've got a lot to cover, but just as a quick reminder, some housekeeping. As you know, this is a show about you and your money and all the fun points in between. If you don't get the show in your city, you can go to GaryK.com, listen live or archive. We are live Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks to the beauty of modern technology, you can listen anytime you want, on any device you want, for free, by just going to GaryK.com and hitting play. You can pause it, rewind it, fast forward as many times as you want. So if I speak fast or if you miss something, if you want to take notes, I know people do lots of different things with the show. Feel free to pause it, rewind it, re-listen, so on and so forth. So a few other things. On GaryK.com, you can follow Gary on X, which was formerly known as Twitter, by just pressing the button or going to @GaryKaltbaum on Twitter. You can also subscribe to Gary's morning notes sent directly to your inbox, email him about his money management business, or join his premium service, which is convictionleaders.com. And that's where he shares thoughts several times a day about the market. He gives updates, actionable ideas, nightly webcasts, in-depth review of what he sees happening, and a lot more. Just about every single day. Actually, every day the market's open pretty much, and on the weekend. So all that's available at convictionleaders.com. A few highlights from Gary. I have some notes that I want to cover to make sure I got everything out there right at the beginning so I don't miss anything. And then I have a lot to share with you, so we'll dive right in. First off, the market. Just as a quick reminder, the semiconductor stocks, ticker symbol SMH, super extended right now. Now remember, folks, the markets go up, down, and sideways. That's all. There's literally three things a stock can do after you buy it. And there's different levels of extension or different ways markets get extended. They don't go straight up. They don't go straight down. They don't go sideways forever. I call them market states. The state changes, just like sometimes you're tired, sometimes you're awake, sometimes you're hungry, sometimes, the state changes. And sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's sunny, hot, cold, so on and so forth. States change. And in the markets, same thing happened. So when these semiconductors, or the NASDAQ 100, for example, you can look at something like a 50-day moving average. When you get 7, 8, 9, 10, 11% above the 50-day moving average for the QQQ, the NASDAQ 100, or the semiconductors, 12, 13, 14%, depending on what you're looking at, typically, not always, but typically, those are extended, overstretched levels. And what ends up happening at some point, not necessarily tomorrow, but at some point, there's a pullback into the 50. Either it goes sideways, the market, and the 50 catches up, or it goes down and drifts lower into the 50. And that's what we mean by extended. So, timing in life is so important. You can ask any comic or any comedian, ask anybody that invests or trades for a living, or ask anybody just about any area of life. A professional athlete, they swing the bat too early, you're going to miss the ball. Same pitch, same ball, swing at the right time, you can crack a home run. Swing a little bit late, you get a foul ball. So on and so forth, right? So I always like to use the example of the proverbial guy who meets a girl and then day one, right away when he first meets her, hey, want to get married? Same guy, same girl, maybe 6, 12, 18, 24, 36 months later, same question, nothing's changed except for the timing element. You might get a complete different answer. So that's with the timing element. Just understand where you are and, avoid that FOMO and chasing and all the fun stuff that comes with the emotional side of investing, which is something I'm going to be discussing later in the show. So that's the semiconductors. Second point, the broad market acting a little better in the last couple of days, but nothing special. Third, the 10-year yield continues to plunge, which is good news near term, but Gary's wondering what it means about demand going forward because a lot of economically sensitive stocks are in trouble. So that's more or less the highlights from Gary that he wanted me to share with you. Now, a few other news items, which I'll cover briefly or quickly, and then I'll dive into the meat of what I want to share with you today. And that's a lot of the things that a lot of people don't discuss when it comes to investing and trading and all the fun stuff that is my world, the psychological analysis, right? That's the title of my book, and it was #1 on Amazon for about 3 months after it was published. And the idea is to remove the emotions from the decision-making process. So NVIDIA overtook Amazon today. Sorry, not Amazon, Microsoft. So NVIDIA overtook Microsoft today to become the largest company in the world. I got called today from a few major news outlets about it, Bloomberg and Barron's and a few others, about, hey, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Well, think about it. The market's reflecting what's happening in the economy. NVIDIA is providing a tremendous amount of value, and they provide graphics cards or chips that's just about in every single computer in the world, or for the most part. Second, they're a big crypto business, right? And Bitcoin was just recently at all-time highs. Then you've got the AI component, which set the stock on fire over the last, several quarters and like year and change. And they are the leader in making AI chips, in the stock market. So out of all the chip stocks in the market, NVIDIA is the leader by far. And demand is off the charts. They can't make enough chips to satisfy the demand. And as a result, they've now become the most valuable company by market cap. That's how things work, right? Warren Buffett's partner, he just, may rest in peace, Charlie Munger, who just passed away a few months ago, had a great line. And I love studying successful people, and I love learning. And, my whole thing is I know I don't know. So I've got one job, and that's to learn. Somebody told me, 15 years ago, that's my superpower. And it really is. It's like, okay, I come into a situation, humble. I know I don't know, but that's okay. Let's learn. So I studied Buffett, I studied Munger, and lots of other people. And Munger has a great line. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you deserve. I tell my kids that. I tell myself that. I tell my wife that. Same thing. So you get what you deserve. You earn it. NVIDIA has earned that title. Years ago, it was Apple. And then Microsoft overtook Apple. Now, it's NVIDIA. Now, will that stay forever? No. No stock stays the biggest ever. Things evolve, things change. And that's the beauty of the market, right? AI is now one of the strongest areas in the market. And other stocks are acting very well that are AI related. You can look at ARM Holdings, ticker symbol ARM. You can look at SMCI is kind of waking up a little bit. Palantir is kind of waking up a little bit. And the list goes on and on. But those are the big ones, right? There are a few others, but for the most part, NVIDIA is the leader in that space. But AI is a really strong part, and that's growing rapidly. And we're still in the early phases. So the reporter today asked me, said, hey, Adam, there's a lot of people talking about Cisco in March of 2000 and AI. And NVIDIA now with AI. And I told him, I said, listen, that's possible because Cisco had if you overlay the charts from Cisco in the late 90s to March of 2000, it looks very similar to NVIDIA. And I said, that's very possible. NVIDIA could follow the same course, and then Cisco had a huge decline when the dot-com bubble burst. But I said, back then, it was about 10 years or so into the internet, 20 years. Microsoft started in the early 80s, right? This is the nascent stage of a new potential game-changing industry, which is AI. And so far, NVIDIA is the leader in the chip space that makes chips for AI. So, and we just saw Apple. Apple stock came to life a few weeks ago when it announced, hey, we're going to focus a lot on AI. And we have a partnership with ChatGPT and so on and so forth. So clearly AI is front and center. Now, does that mean NVIDIA is going to stay up forever? No. I don't know one stock that ever stays up forever. They all go through phases, right? The state changes. Sometimes they're leading, sometimes they're lagging, sometimes, they're very short term, it's very extended, expected to pull back, so on and so forth. But just understand, okay, it's now the biggest stock in the market. Does it mean you have to go buy it right now? Again, I'd go back and say, are we extended? Are you early to the party? Are you late? Look at the 50-day moving average and ask yourself, hey, if I get in now, where am I going to exit if I'm wrong? And how much am I going to risk if I'm wrong? Those three questions I always ask myself before I buy any stock. Where am I going to enter? Where do I exit? And how much do I risk if I'm wrong? Again, where do I get in? Where do I get out? And if I'm wrong, how much am I going to lose? Just worded, same questions, but just worded differently. Because this way, I have a clear plan. before I enter. It's almost like Ben Franklin's line of failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. Again, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. So just buying stocks blindly with no exit plan, it's something I used to do. I don't recommend people do that anymore. I don't do it anymore. It's important to plan ahead. In any area, or most areas of life, to be successful, you got to plan, you got to prep, you got to do the reps, you got to do this, be consistent, right? So that's in the video. Up next, we've got a lot more to cover. I'm Adam Sarhan. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Hi, I'm Gary Kaltbaum, host of the nationally syndicated radio show Investor's Edge. We're not just handsome radio people. We manage investors' money for a living, specializing in fee-based discretionary money management. No big commissions, just a fee on the assets that's managed. We also provide a full range of personalized services, including retirement planning, fixed income, and educational needs, all to assist you in achieving your financial goals. Understanding not all individuals have the same needs, we'll carefully evaluate your personal goals to determine a proper investment strategy. If your current approach to investing is not getting you to where you would like to be, call us to make an appointment for a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call is 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. Investment advisory services offered through Kaltbaum Capital Management.
It's time to switch on the integrator units and get the brain cells working.
You're listening to
Hey, this promises to be fun.
Investor's Edge
The last bastion of quality programming.
with Gary Kaltbaum.
It doesn't get better than this.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. In case you're just joining us or missed any part of the show, you can go to GaryK.com, rewind, fast forward, listen at your convenience as many times as you want, over and over again. So that's the beauty of modern technology. We left off discussing the video becoming the strongest stock in the market, and then the three most important questions I ask before I buy a stock. It's where am I going to get in? Where do I get out? Enter, exit, and then how much do I risk if I'm wrong? The other side of this is knowing that it's okay to be wrong. And it's inevitable in this business. If you can actively trade stocks, I don't know anybody that's 100% right 100% of the time. Losses happen. It's a cost of doing business. In traditional businesses, you'd have fixed costs, or COG is what they call it, cost of goods sold kind of a thing. If you open up a store, let's say we're going to sell men's suits. Okay, great. We've got to buy the inventory. We've got to rent the store. There's a lease. There's employees and so on, insurance and so on and so forth. There's fixed cost. Let's just say rent. Forget everything else. You're going to pay X amount of dollars every month, no matter whether you sell a million suits or $1 of those suits. You're going to pay that rent. That's a fixed cost. In our business of trading and investing, we don't have a fixed cost. Even commissions now are zero. Okay, or very close to zero, depending on which broker you use and all that kind of fun stuff. But basically, the fixed costs in this world that I associate with of trading is that you're going to take losses. It's inevitable. And the beauty of this, it's okay. So part of my work over the last 25, 30 years or so has been just, again, I've got one job, and that's to learn. It's improving, upgrading the character. There's nothing wrong with the market. There's nothing wrong with the economy. I looked around. I was like, oh, okay, there's one common denominator here. It's me. It's Adam. How do I upgrade the user? Well, all right, I can get smarter. I can learn, read books, and I did that and continue to do that. And that became just a life. I fell in love with learning. And I continue to upgrade the user in all different areas. How can I eat healthier? How can I, all this stuff, longevity and all this kind of, whatever my interests are. Okay, great. Let's bring it back here to investing and trading. So if you know you're going to have losses, let's study nature. How does the world work? And then how do we get aligned and thrive in that kind of environment? So let's look at nature. Let's say you have an apple tree. 1,000 seeds come out. How many seeds are going to grow into just a beautiful apple tree? 1, 2, maybe? And what happens to the rest of them? Poof, they're gone. They just die. Now here's a fancy term. It's asymmetric risk to reward. What does that mean in English? When you're wrong, you have 1 seed or 900 seeds or 9,000 seeds, whatever it is, die. So you lose 1 every time that seed doesn't work. Okay. When you're right, let's say 1 or 2 seeds come out and grow into a new tree. Okay. That tree is going to make thousands and thousands of new seeds, if not millions of new seeds, depending how long that tree lasts, for the rest of time, until that tree dies or is cut down. Okay, that's asymmetric risk to reward. When you're wrong, you lose 1. That 1 seed dies. But when you're right, new trees blossom and almost infinite number of new seeds potentially, not literally infinite, but there's a gazillion, how about that word, a tremendous amount of new seeds come out. And trading is very similar. In statistics, there's something called a bell curve, which most of us are familiar with. Some kids in the classroom get A's, some kids get B's, some kids get C's, some kids get D's and F's, and so on and so forth. Most get C's. Okay, great. There's a bell curve, normal distribution. But there's also something called a power law distribution. And that's a little bit different, where you take the same number, let's say cities, population U.S. cities. Let's say New York, Chicago, Miami, LA, Dallas, the big cities have millions and millions and millions of people. But there's, hundreds, if not thousands of cities, let's just say hundreds and hundreds of cities that don't have millions of people. They have maybe hundreds of thousands of people. But if you take the average of the population of all cities in America, because of those tremendously populated cities, let's get silly in a second, those cities that are very populated, the average number of people in a city could, let's say, be 1 million. Because some have 10 million, 20 million, whatever it is, right? And some have a few 100,000. But if you're hired to make a water system or a police system or fire, whatever, essential services, hospitals, for the average number of people in the average city in the U.S., it's not going to work. Because the water system you make might work really well for smaller cities that have small populations, but there's no way it's going to handle New York City, LA, Chicago, Miami, Dallas, the population and their load. It's just not going to work. So that's called power law distribution. And in business, it's pretty much the same thing. It's either a normal distribution of your customers or of your trades, or power law distribution, meaning a small amount of customers make up the vast majority of your business. So for example, McDonald's has a normal bell curve distribution. I don't know anybody going into McDonald's going to spend $100,000 or $1 million. Maybe somebody will, but I've yet to hear of that happening. Some are going to be super fans, go there every day, spend a lot of money there. And some people are going to be on the shorter side. When they go there once every 2 years or once a year or whenever. And then there's a big portion in the middle, right? Okay, great. That's a normal bell curve. Now, the power law distribution in business will be something like Candy Crush or Roblox, one of these online games, just as an example, where you have millions of people use Roblox or Robux or whatever it is. We buy the Robux for the kids, but it's Roblox, the video game. And most of them play for free, or Candy Crush. Most people play for free. But there are some super fans that are die-hard that make up 90% of Roblox's revenue or Candy Crush's revenue. Now, that small population of users spends a tremendous amount of money. And that's how the company makes their money, from that small amount of users. And those users, there's so much revenue coming in that it more than makes up for all the cost of running the operation and the cost of servicing the other users. And that's an example of power law distribution. So with trades, same thing. Most trades don't work. Okay, if you're wrong small, that's okay. Again, when you're wrong, lose 1 unit, whatever that unit is to you, or less than 1 unit. 1% of your account, 50 basis points, 70 basis points, do whatever you want, obviously. I'm not giving, no investment advice is being given. This is all just general informational, educational purposes. But, for example, lose less than 1%. When you're right, make 5, make 10, make 20. And over time, if you have that discipline and you're consistent, you do the reps, over time, you can do very well. So, up next, we've got a lot more to cover. I'm Adam Sarhan. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
You're listening to
America is talking.
Investor's Edge.
He's got to be pleased with that. The crowd is just on its feet here. He's a Cinderella boy.
With Gary Kaltbaum.
Comes highly recommended. You're going to feel better if you talk to him.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Adam Sarhan, in for Gary K, who's out today. So, covered a lot on the show so far. Spoke about NVIDIA, spoke about 10 years, spoke about markets, spoke about being extended, about different the 3 most important questions I ask before buying a stock, or really making any investment. So it could be a house, could be a business, could be anything. It's like, okay, you want to do this? We even go into dinner at times, or going to functions. The kids have a barbecue at school tonight. Okay, what time does it start? What time does it end? And then what's the worst that can happen? I can leave anytime? Okay, great. I'll take that trade. I'll go and socialize, have fun with happy face. Okay, great. That's how my brain works. Every trade is a decision in my mind's eye, right? I think in trades, or I don't think in trades. I think in risk and reward. Because let's peel back the onion a little bit. Let's go a little bit deeper. What is a trade? There's an element of risk, and there's an element of reward. That asymmetric risk to reward you spoke about earlier, right? When you're wrong, the idea, in the way that I function, is to be wrong small. And when you're right, be right big. That's it. Over time, just like the apple tree, like nature, you'll do very well. Baseball players, by the way, same thing. The best baseball players, what? They hit 3 out of 10? Somewhere in that range, 4 out of 10? And guess what? They're all-stars. But that means they miss 7 out of 10 shots, or pitches. I think Babe Ruth for a long time was the home run king, but he was also the strikeout king. Held the record for most home runs, held the record for most strikeouts. And many other home run people are the same way. Because, I think it's Gretzky's line, or someone's got a great line, if you're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But at the same time, if you swing at every single pitch, forget about that. Just forget about it. So it's not going to work. If you take if you buy every single stock you see setting up, or whatever the case is, just buy, with no discipline, with no consistency, with no approach, Ben Franklin's failing the plan is preparing to fail, then most likely your returns are going to suffer. And by the way, all this is outlined in my book, Psychological Analysis. You can get on Amazon. And I share my thoughts about the market on findleadingstocks.com. So every day and all that fun stuff. So when you look at the market, the next point I want to bring up to you is that some of the most successful people I know treat this as a business. We spoke briefly about this earlier where, hey, if we're going to open up a men's suit business, we have to buy inventory, we have a rent, so on and so forth. But trading or investing, if this is what you want to do as a side gig or hustle, whatever word you want to use, or as your primary gig, either way, it behooves you to get the best returns possible. And part of that is treating it objectively and treating it like a business. So, for example, people that have successful businesses, by the way, do things different than people that are unsuccessful most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. And there tends to be some element of structure when you're in a business. They understand their numbers, for the most part. successful business owners understand the business, the value they're providing, they're giving value. In exchange, they're getting money. Very simple. And if you give more value than you ask in return for money, then you're going to have a successful business, providing all other things are equal, and you're honest and you're ethical and all that kind of fun stuff. But you're really providing value. And that's my MO, so to speak, or my mantra. Business, what's a good word, is my guiding principle. It's provide as much value as possible. And then whoever wants to engage will engage. And that's it. But if I can give you $10 in value and get $1 in return, great. Everybody wins. And that's a successful formula. So when it comes to trading, a lot of people just wing it. I did for years, and I'm speaking from experience here. They say a wise man learns from his mistakes, a wiser man learns from other people's mistakes. I want you to be the wiser person here. Man or female, doesn't matter. Learn from my mistakes. That's why I do what I do. I love hearing success stories. I mean, it warms my heart like there's no giving back and contributing. That's why I do what I do, right? So we're in a situation where you have control over what trades you put on, how long you're in the trade for, when you enter, when you exit, how much you risk. If you're wrong, of course, bearing some unforeseen major calamity. But for the most part, you're in control of those three things: entry, exit, and then risk. Okay. If you structure it right, doesn't mean you're going to be 100% right and win the market and beat the market every year and have, all-star returns. No, it's not what I'm saying in any way, shape, or form. In fact, statistically, most people don't beat the market and underperform their benchmarks, and so even the professional money managers, same thing. But just like anything that's a performance-based business, there are some that rise to the top and stay there because they're doing something different, right? So when you treat it as a business, you understand your numbers. We're not buying suits or fruit or produce and then selling it. Our inventory is money. Numbers. You're not dealing with cash. It's all electronic on the screen. You've got an app, probably, or a website you log into to use your online broker in most cases. And you buy and sell based on click a mouse or tap a button on your phone and boom, boom, you're done. So it behooves all of us to really dive in deep and understand the numbers and plan your trades in advance. And that's why everything I do, I look at on weekly charts, and then I look at daily charts, also look at monthlies. Is the stock here at an all-time high? Is it at a 52-week high? Is it extended? Is it not extended? I have a whole process that I do before I pull the trigger, so to speak, and actually buy a stock, risk my money in exchange for a potential reward. That may or may not happen. But I want to make sure that I go after high probability setups, high probability trades, high probability breakouts, so on and so forth. The highest possible ones. And then the next point is master. I don't want to even say learn. Master the art and the skill and the science of saying no. No. Warren Buffett has a great line. He goes, it's really important to know your circle of competence. Meaning, what are you good at? Like in the 2000s, we spoke about the dot-com boom and bust, right? He didn't really participate in the boom. And he didn't get nailed in the bust. Because he knew at the time, hey, tech isn't my world. I'm an insurance guy. I know railroads. I know banks. I understand those businesses. I don't understand high tech at the time. He's like, yeah, I'm not doing it for the most part. Okay. He didn't participate. What was it? 20 years later, he understood Apple, and then Apple became one of his biggest positions and a big, massive winner. Now it's at all-time highs, or very close to. But I go back to timing. Timing wasn't there. So knowing the art and mastering the art of saying no. Hey, everyone else is making money from Warren. You got to buy tech stocks, so on and so forth. He just said no. No, no, no. Him and Charlie, no, no, no. Oh, by the way, no. It's a superpower. Think of your attention as a currency. And people are all day, every day, they want your attention. Advertisers are bombarding us with ads. People are doing this, doing that. People want attention. And if that's your currency and you have a finite amount of currency or energy throughout the day, think of energy or currency, whatever word you want to use, and you spend all your attention on something that doesn't serve you or a low ROI activity, you're probably going to get a low ROI outcome. So learn the art of saying no. Eliminate those distractions. How does this help me? Whatever this is, right? If it doesn't help me, then I'm not going to do it. There's thousands of stocks in the market. Which one am I going to buy? Which one am I going to sell? I don't need to buy every stock. In fact, I can't buy every stock. And I don't want to. That's okay. So what Adam's going to do is I'm looking for leaders. Here's my logic. After I buy a stock, I want it to go up. Okay. So there's different stocks. Some go up a lot, some go up a little, some go up not so much. So out of all the stocks, I want to buy the leaders, the strongest of the strong, because those are going up the most. But not just blindly buy them, because they could easily pull back if they're extended, like the SMH or NVIDIA, the semiconductor stocks, or NVIDIA right now, they're extended. But wait and be patient. Timing element. But buy them as they're coming out of favorable risk to reward entry points. Breaking out of bases, pulling back at the moving averages and then bouncing, inflection points, so on and so forth. And then over time, there's going to be losses and there's going to be wins. Over time, tend to do well. But the highest ROI activity. So, and again, the art of saying no. All right. Up next, we've got a lot more to cover. I'm Adam Sarhan. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
You're listening to
What are we waiting for?
Well, what are you waiting for?
1, 2, ready, go.
Action!
Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Adam Sarhan in for Gary K, who's out today. In case you missed any part of the show, you can go to GaryK.com, rewind, fast forward, pause, take notes, do whatever you want to do on any device you want for free, 24/7, all on GaryK.com to listen to the show, rewind it, fast forward, etc., etc. So, that being said, if you are listening on a podcast app, give Gary 5 stars, follow the subscribe, like and subscribe, you know the drill. It does go a long way to help other people, and we want to help Gary. He's a great guy. Let's do something nice. So, next, we spoke about no, art of saying no. That's what we picked up. Okay, next thing I want to share with you. When you learn the art of saying no, inevitably, there's going to be some stocks that get away from you and you miss them. I didn't buy XYZ. Oh my gosh. Guess what? That's okay. It's like the high school boy who goes into the school dance and wants to kiss every pretty girl in the dance. It's not realistic. Instead of being upset and going home, find one that you can and be happy with and do your best to sink your teeth into a leading stock, to own a leader, and just focus on it. And there's going to be other pretty girls that dance. That's okay. You just need one. You'll be very, very happy. Same thing with the stock market. You buy 1 or 2 good leading stocks, 3 or 4 leaders, whatever the case may be, 5 or 10 leaders. God bless. Buy the more the merrier. You can do extremely well. I think 1 or 2 stocks this year has more than made my year, where I'm easily beating the market. Why? Because that's just been the way that things worked out this year. Now, last year, I might not have. I might have been way underperforming, or the year before, or whatever. Things change. No one's going to consistently catch every single leader, every single time, every single cycle, and hold on to them guaranteed every single time. That's not realistic. So when you have that FOMO, or that seeing that next shiny object, oh, I should have bought Apple, or I should have bought XYZ, or LMNOP, or QRS, or TUV, and you didn't buy it, take a deep breath, difficult and come to terms with it and accept it and move on. Focus on the next win. Tim Grover, who I'm not affiliated with, he's the coach for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, has a great line. And he coached these guys and coached Dwayne Wade and some other guys. Great, successful basketball. Had 2 great books. One's called Relentless, and the other one's Winning. W number 1 and N-I-N-G. Instead of W-I, it's W number 1. All right, great. Got great books about winning, that kind of stuff. And he would say, the night Jordan won the championship, like, oh, champ, what are you thinking? What are you going to do? People are like, oh, I'm going to Disney World, whatever. He's focused on the next win. Instantly. Everything else is blocked out. Celebrates, enjoys himself, sure, but he's focused like a hawk at the gym. Bam, let's get going. The next win. That's key, because if you can clear your mind of where your attention is limited, right? Where you focus on, your energy flows. So if you focus on all the losses, all the stocks that you missed, most likely what's going to happen? You're going to keep missing stocks. If you instead you focus on the next win and learn from your mistakes. Post-analysis is one of the most important things. I do that with some coaching clients. Really, really important, post-analysis. It's hard to do that because you have to look at yourself and look at your mistakes. But if you don't do that, you're just going to end up most likely repeating those mistakes over and over and over again. I did that for years. And then finally I'm like, okay, enough is enough. Fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 10 times. Eventually I got to wake up and stop doing these same mistakes over and over again. So, that's the post-analysis component. But again, it comes down to be intellectually honest with yourself. Because it's very easy to put things under the rug. But eventually it becomes a mountain. You got to address these things. Why does this keep happening? And then the attention, focus on the next win. Instead of beating yourself up, it's really easy. I can speak and attest and be the first person to tell you, beating yourself up is one of the easiest things people can do. But who do you talk to more than anybody else in the world? Yourself. Watch that language very carefully. Something I can it changed my life, my internal conversation, where I shifted it or switched it from a negative to a positive. Okay, you made a mistake. You're human. Guess what? It's going to happen. And I see it in my kids. Look at young kids. When they make a mistake, they really hard on themselves. Why? You're human. It's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. That's okay. Focus on the next win. Notice the energy change. And more importantly, you're clearing the air, finding the next win. Instead of, which is a high ROI activity, finding the next win, instead of beating yourself up, which is a low ROI activity. You can learn from the mistake, sure, but the beating yourself up part, that's a negative ROI activity, which I did, and I don't recommend people do because there's no ROI. So I hope a lot of this stuff has helped you. You can get more of my stuff at Psychological Analysis, the book. And really, tomorrow the markets are closed for the holiday. Gary will be back on Thursday. And as you put everything together, empowering yourself with a positive attitude and a positive outlook, it's really, really helpful. Being optimistic, understanding the biggest wins are in front of you. Marty Schwartz talks about that from a great book. It's called Pitbull. Again, I'm not affiliated in any way, shape, or form. Just sharing what I learned. Some books that I like. Pitbull, Relentless, Winning. And he says your biggest wins are in front of you. I think he wrote the book a few decades ago. And it's so true. But if you focus on the losses and the ones that already happened, guess what? You'll be taking your energy instead of finding the next win and learning from your mistakes objectively and putting that energy into losses, and beating yourself up and all that kind of stuff. So, mind that conversation, be aware of that conversation. And if you have to, change the narrative because you're in control of the story you tell yourself. Not me, not anybody else. So what story are you telling yourself? A powerful one that empowers you or a negative one that drains you? One that energizes you, that opens you up to abundance, that helps you find new opportunities, or one that's negative? And just because you told yourself a negative story for years doesn't mean you have to keep telling yourself a negative story. That's also big. Really big. You have the power to change it, and change it like that. Find those leaders. You miss some, that's okay. But that relentless mindset and that winning mindset is like, okay, how do I get better? How do I improve? What can I learn from missing that leader so it doesn't happen the next time around? Am I looking at markets too often, infrequently? Maybe I should be doing it more. Maybe I should be doing it less. Whatever adjustments need to be made, find those lessons. Do that work. Because the results, my goodness. My goodness. I'll say it one more time. My goodness. Life-changing potential on the other side of this. So, hope you find all this helpful. As Gary says, hug the kids. Enjoy yourself. Keep your losses small. Never fight the tape, is what I like to say. Have a great day off tomorrow, if that's off for you. And Gary back on Thursday. Thank you, everybody.
This has been Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum on BizTalk. To listen to past episodes or to get in contact with Gary, go to GaryK.com. That's GaryK.com.